I was at Barack Obama's inauguration in 2008, and it was so cold that day I couldn't feel my face properly. I couldn't speak properly. Simon, they're heading they're heading into the White House now for the job to begin. Yeah, that's the we're on the front, if you will. That's Pennsylvania Avenue, coming in those gates over on the west side. So they've walked, in front of the White House, as much walking as they did, just a couple of 100 metres. Ordinarily, that's closed off the traffic, that section. So even on an ordinary day, you certainly don't get a vehicle that close to the White House. I haven't done that for a good 20, 25 years or so. But there they are walking up the drive. And I'm just wondering if that was it for parades. I'm just wondering how this is going to go in terms of these marching bands, how this is all going to unfold, this mix of virtual and real events. Waiting for that too. Let's listen in to some of that now. There's something going on anyway, Simon. Let's listen in. While we wait for that to proceed, Simon, I'd like to get your thoughts on this, because I put it to Joe a little earlier. Mm-hmm. You had Lincoln that faced the Civil War. You had Roosevelt that faced a Great Depression. Where does what Joe Biden faces here stack up to those giants of history? Yeah.
Look, I don't think it is glib or trite to put this moment in American history up on that same top shelf.
Yeah, right.
with Lincoln's second inaugural, with the Great Depression. 400,000 Americans have died from COVID. It's very difficult for us in Australia, I think, to appreciate the gravity of the situation, and more is yet in the month since the election, 100,000 Americans have died.
Well, 400,000 is just about as much as
We've had a couple of days, the day of the Capitol Hill riots, the day after at least, over 4,000 Americans died. In the state of New Jersey, this was true back at Christmas time, Pete. In the state of New Jersey, 1% of the population over 65 have died.
Let's just listen into this, Simon. And in they go to their new home, Simon. Sorry, I just cut you off then.
Sure.
You were continuing the point. The 400,000. This is a point that started yesterday, as much as World War II, the death toll from World War II.
That's right. It's hard. It's hard, I think, for us here in Australia, with our relative success in managing COVID, to appreciate how grave a crisis this is, and how grave a crisis it's going to continue to be. And think about it, comes on the back too of an insurrection, an invasion by a violent mob of the Capitol. Just on January 6, an outgoing president who doggedly refused to accept the election result. It's a combination of crises in the United States that when you add them all up, I think, as Biden said himself in his speech, any one of these crises would be a huge mountain to climb, but we're facing 4 or 5 of them at once. And of course, the one that I think we in Australia here are paying close attention to are the foreign policy challenges that the United States faces, and its ability to deal with those aggressively and project itself into the world, I think rests first and foremost on solving these domestic crises, America, if you will, getting its mojo back.
And what about the future of the Republican Party? What sort of vacuum is left behind? You know that there's reporting suggesting that Donald Trump may well want to form a breakaway party called the Patriot Party. And how many of those 74 million votes he received in this election, it's the highest amount, second highest amount ever, I should say. How many of those does he take away, bearing in mind the Republican Party hasn't won the popular vote in a long time?
That's the other story, Pete, of the next couple of weeks, months, and perhaps years of American politics. And it opens with this impeachment trial. How many, now 10 Republicans in the House voted to impeach the President of the United States. Mitch McConnell's remarks over the last 24, 36 hours or so.
Big.
Huge,
Yeah.
huge. Is how that, where we land on that. And Trump has cards to play himself in this game. Does he go to Mar-a-Lago quietly, or does he continue, as his speeches seem to indicate, to remain a force? How he does that without Twitter, a new verb in the lexicon, being deplatformed. How he continues to be a force, and whether he chooses to or not. These are the live questions. Do the Republicans, if you will, take back their party?